Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
In a previous real side experience I shared, I would reveal a dastardly dark force controller plot in regards to the slave species that is humanity, that although would be one of many variations on the apocalyptic, catastrophic theme, would be one, however, that had already begun. As that which befalls a species is dependent on the agreement ideas being installed into the overall collective consciousness of said species, even though the dark force controllers have a template of humanity control acquiescence, as the human species has been in a position of dominance since its inception in relation to the reptilians, and this then has been the foundation of the affected experience that is humanity, that of domination, for escalating control to be so, for the dark forces agenda for humanity's suppression to progressively roll on. So these are additional ideas that must be implanted in human consciousness that effect escalation of controlled circumstances. Every idea that has been created or created by others and agreed with will be a consciousness implanted and in effect now in reality, but through the consciousness design, so only will certain of the ideas present be as a physical level experience, the ideas which are currently held to in prominence over all others. A little like having a movie collection, but only selecting certain of the movies to experience at any given moment, and the movie selected, although complete on the disc, as all idea causes are their immediate effects in isness reality terms, must be processed through via the body vehicle mechanics from start to culmination, and should an alternative idea take prominence over the one currently being processed, it is the equivalent of exchanging a movie for another before the conclusion of the first has been reached. And with this delay factor then between cause and effect on the physical, So there is an illusory window where the idea affecting the experience can be exchanged and a corresponding alternative experience begin to roll out instead. Only if the agreement idea is held to long enough to reach its conclusion will the final effect be actualized physical level-wise. The dark forces, wishing to escalate their humanity-controlling agendas more along the depopulation and even complete genocide lines, must install the ideas where such can be humanity's experience, and to ensure a greater chance that this can be accomplished, so the dark forces are installing by every means possible, conscious and subconsciously, innumerable versions and variations on the apocalyptic theme, in the hopes that one of their ideas will stick and be held to until a physical level fruition, as I have been chronicling the various possibilities over the years. The most recent idea potentiality revealed to me would be in regards to the moon, that it is in reality a hollowed-out reptilian space station, and its positioning has formulated an electromagnetic relationship with the Earth, and should the moon be moved, so this can have catastrophic consequences for the planet Earth. And I would be shown that this was not simply an idea possibility thrown into the consciousness mix with all other dark force implanted insidious creations, but that it was in effect now, evidently as the human consciousness idea held to currently in prominence and beginning its rollout to a culmination. An idea that would have the moon repositioned gradually, during which time the Earth would be the recipient of heightened extreme weather phenomena, and the further the moon was moved, the more extreme would be the global consequences, earthquakes, tsunamis, etc., to the extent of complete global cataclysm, which would effectively level every city of every continent with severe depopulation ramifications, a process that would take approximately 200 days to complete, as was revealed to me, unless the idea agreement was exchanged for another and an alternative human movie begins to roll out in its place. This real side experience would indicate this particular dark force engineered and human consciousness installed idea, the repositioning of the moon, still is very much in effect and continuing its rolling out to a conclusion. I would find myself within a car, driving from the street where my physical level house is positioned. In my real side experiences, the symbology of the scenes being based where my street is the overall setting is indicative of an idea agreement being somewhat physical level imminent, that as the street contains my house, the representation is of the idea being rather close to home, as the saying goes, and this would indeed be the case, with the moon relocation idea currently in effect at this moment, and with 200 or so days for its completion, and the devastating Earth impact that will accompany it. For indeed, in the skies above would be present the moon, as I observed it from the back seat window of the car. Present with me would be two other individuals, those on their respective processes of awareness as impressions revealed, though were unfamiliar to my personal self, and at the wheel would be a former school colleague by the name of Keith. As I have shared on a number of previous real-side experiences, the outer form of a Keith is one favoured by the guides, and this would be the situation here, as impressions would reveal. As I regarded the moon, it was not as it usually presents itself as visually. Although still spherical, its complete visible surface comprised of a series of interlocking grids, and in response to this anomaly, so I would proclaim to the others in the vehicle that I told them the dark forces were restructuring it. Impressions revealing then that not only was the moon being repositioned, but undergoing a restructuring, and the purpose for this was seemingly then made apparent. For the grid network that the moon comprised of would glow, and the moon itself become more so as a portal or conduit, as though this restructuring was for the purposes of transforming the moon into a mechanism by which access could be gleaned through it to the earth from other dimensions of creation. And then a dark silhouette would formulate in front of the moon, a colossal body form that had utilized this portal made available to it, and impressions would reveal it was some variety of a powerful demon or other unleashed from a certain area of creation, and now could potentially impact the earth adversely through the moon as a viable conduit. Very likely then a planned and arranged situation where not only would the earth suffer the upheavals due to the moon's repositioning, but this demon and perhaps others of its type could utilize the portal the moon had been restructured to serve as, to wreak additional havoc on the planet. For indeed, the demon would become aware of us and begin raining down fireballs that reduced the road we were travelling along to a liquid, fiery goo. The guide at the wheel would avoid the demon's projectiles, though the car would at certain moments drive over the liquidated road and where the tyres would be blown as a consequence. As cars are symbolically ideas on the real side, that the guide was driving would indicate he as the idea's creator, an idea we, the passengers, were in agreement with by virtue of us being within the vehicle that was representing the idea. As the guides overall are the very essence of life, that of support for every awareness that is a part of it, any idea conceived by a guide will be life and awareness benefiting. In this situation then, our survival was dependent upon agreement with the guide's idea, that overall, as we stand with the guides and accept their guidance, agreement that will embody the real intent of all is recognition, affording the means by which we can ultimately get through the creational process and all that it entails, simulated and experiential wise, as we hold to the overall focus with the true reality. For indeed, the two other passengers of the car would fade from it, and impressions revealed they had rather been derailed or distracted by what was a creational phenomena, the demon and earth cataclysms as effected from the moon's relocation, all as ideas that can draw us into a creation and the personal self-consciousness, if we are overly captivated by them, if they claim our attention, and our focus is misdirected from the bigger picture, that of all is recognition. Impressions were that the absorption into the simulated situation had rendered them vulnerable also to the demon, as though activating through the personal self in reaction to the experiential situations, they were removed from the nowness of the real awareness position, where if such is maintained, we are aside from all effect possibilities, including the insidious intentionalities of others, as the nowness is a reality beyond the ability of ideas to impact. Consequently, the demon had destroyed them, or their simulated body types at any rate, as evidently agreements were present in relation to the demon that this could be so. Agreements that would be nullified were one to have remained in the nowness of the real awareness position, aside from all agreement contracts in relation to others that allow our destruction at their hands. After a time of our being bombarded with fireballs, the demon would relent and be no longer present in the scene. Though if this potentially comes to pass, that of the moon becoming as a portal, he would be taking up permanent residence as one of the earth and humanity's tormentors, and as the guide parked the car and we exited, in the skies where the moon had been was the sun present in its place. The sun as the best reference for the all is, and so represented here, as I suggested, that of the ability to get through all creational happenstance, if maintained is the focus with the true reality and its recognition. As I said, this idea, that of a moon relocation, and of it serving as a portal to allow the accessing of the earth for all manner of ill-intended and dark force-affiliated characters, is in effect now, and gradually rolling out to a conclusion, that of global cataclysm, but still only potentially, as at any moment agreements can change, and the human movie exchanged for another. For a scene would follow which afforded a glimpse of potential human overall experiential scenes in association with this current rolling out moon repositioning agenda. Once again, I would be positioned in a close proximity to my physical level house, revealing the impending physical level actualizing nature of this dark force created idea, traversing the surrounding streets of my neighbourhood by way of a push-bike. That which would transpire next, set to be a global occurrence, I was simply being shown it as a featuring in my country, and with the representation as featuring in streets in a close proximity to my house, being that of the idea's physical level effect outcome as somewhat imminent. For as I proceeded, I would look to the skies above, and behold a number of planes that were fragmented, spinning out of control and powerless. It was as though the extreme weather phenomena, and in conjunction with maybe the dire actions of certain demonic characters accessing the moon portal, had caused destruction to everything airborne. Perhaps an EMF event had also taken place. As I have been shown in previous real-side experiences, planes dropping from the skies as part of the dark forces' agendas, as they render the planet devoid of all power through the instigation of EMF electromagnetic blasts, by whatever means this is achieved. Most of the planes were fragmented as though the recipient of some tremendous destructive energy, and indeed would one of the dismembered wings of a large commercial jet drop from the sky and almost smash me from my bike, as it arced across the space just inches in front of me, settling to the ground several meters from my position. Additionally, would the ground be torn asunder, as though a tremendous force were causing it to fragment and tear apart, again very likely adverse impacting Earth effects due to the moon being repositioned. Not only was this severe earthquake phenomena taking place, laying waste to the buildings and infrastructure, but lava erupting from the cracks and fissures and flowing freely through the streets also would add to the destruction. A global occurrence, as I said, one of many varieties as brought on by the moon's relocation, and I would be negotiating my way through the lava-strewn streets as everything crumbled around me. The only damage I suffered were punctures to my bike's wheels, a little like with the car from the previous scene due to the demon's fire melting the roads, in this case though from the lava erupting from the ground. I would successfully reach my physical level house and would ascend to the top floor of it. That as the house recreated represents the consciousness on the real side, so the top floors symbolically would represent the other unseen dimensions of life, revealing ideas already in effect, as all ideas will be other dimensionally prior to physical level manifestation. And in the company of my father, though impressions revealing him to be a guide, assuming this form, as we looked from the windows, that which was taking place in the streets surrounding the house would be the continuing destruction of the earth due to the extremity of a global upheaval. Situations manifested now in isness reality terms and on the real side, symbolically as afforded via the top floor of my house, the other real side dimensions of life, where all ideas are their immediate effects. And the destruction was so absolute that with every subsequent wave of devastation, of earthquakes and such like, all cities of the world were progressively and continuously reduced to rubble, that eventually no sign of anything as built by the hands of man were present. The entire earth's surface would as though be flowing with liquid and lava-heated mud, absent of any sign of life or civilization, suggesting more a complete genocide than depopulation, as unlike the previous real-side experiences of a similar nature, remnants and ruins of civilization had remained, and where existence was possible for the humans that had survived. I am reminded of the legends and theories of periodic resets as exacted by the dark forces, where on occasion they will wipe out the surface earth world, from the ashes rebuild a new human experience with a falsified history that becomes a part of the indoctrination process, and where suggested are global floodings as being the mechanism by which this was achieved. And as everything settles, the earth as it was is no more, and what may have survived, infrastructure-wise, is buried beneath layers of mud. This experience here would present the idea agreement culmination point as being a global mud flooding which would bury everything there once had been. And perhaps, if such resets have occurred before, the repositioning of the moon may be the means by which this was previously achieved. It seemed somewhat absolute, but perhaps certain humans were relocated off a planet by the dark forces temporarily to be returned to the earth in the aftermath, where everything is then rebuilt according to the dark force desires, and the returned humans now are the first generation of the new and far more controlled human era. This is a very possible scenario for the previous reset occasions, where the Earth was levelled, that of securing and rendering safe a certain percentage of what would become the first generation of the new human slaves, or perhaps in this experience it was indeed complete genocide as intended by the dark forces, and not a single human or any body type able to survive. But as I said, although this moon repositioning is taking place currently, and as it proceeds, so escalating Earth upheavals will be in accompaniment, that the final outcome, as revealed to me in this experience, comes to pass, depends ultimately on what humanity decides. Which of the ideas human consciousness installed are maintained as those prominent over all others to their final effect conclusion.